One, two, three. Let me know if you can hear me. Test, test. Or let me check something. Oh, yeah. All right. Let me take this out because I sound like I can't hear. Hi, everybody. All right. So this is Man Up Monday with me and Judge Joe Brown. He was on vacation for a minute. He's back, but I still may switch some things up. But welcome. Now, listen, I'm natural today, meaning, no silk press. My appointment is Wednesday. So I'm in between here appointments. So I'm about to get this silk press on Wednesday with a little bit of color. And then I'm going to put the braids back in my hair. So just a little FYI, I'm in my natural, wet, curly-ish natural hair, thick roots. Yes. All right. So we're going to have an interesting show. Of course, we have to talk about the ceasefire. And Iran said, honey, we didn't agree to no damn ceasefire. So Trump declared a ceasefire. I do want to go back and talk about Iran bombing U.S. military base, Iran bombing Israel, Israel bombing Iran first. Yes. And let's not forget, ceasefire or not, when all this was going down starting last week, 3 major U.S. cities was on high alert. Because, yes, we do have sleeper cells here, courtesy of the Biden administration. So, guys, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Please like the video, share the video on your social media outlets. If you would like to send in a donation, please do so. I do have a goal, 10 super chats. So share. Shout out to everybody on X. I should be on X. I think I am. Let me check. And we're just waiting for the judge to come on as always. Oh, I'm not on X. I thought I was. No? I'm not. Okay, my bad. I forgot to make sure I will go and live on X. Oh well. Well, I guess all that I did send a notification out on X, so I guess they could come over here on YouTube. Yes, honey. Yes, Lanisha, Lanessia. Is it Lanessia? Says nothing wrong with natural hair. No, nothing is wrong with it. Nothing ain't wrong with natural hair. It's just that I'm used to always having a silk press. See, this is wet. And when it gets dry, it gets thick, like slave plantation thick. And I know it's always something that I'm forgetting to do. You know what I forgot to do? I printed out 2 articles that I'm going to be referencing because I like to print and read from what I print, and I forgot to get it because the printer is in my basement and I actually went down in the basement for something and I totally forgot about it. We're going to talk about my memory in another show, but because I am perimenopause, my brain gets foggy a lot. But I'm going to talk about that when I start promoting my other channel, which by Friday of this week, I will be promoting a new channel, and it's all centered around health and wellness. Yeah. So, yeah. But you're right. There's nothing wrong with natural hair. I like my silk press and I like my boho braids now. Thank you, Laura. I like your hair. Thank you. My natural, well, okay, so the natural, because I am natural. I don't wear makeup. I have to get into wear makeup. Only thing I will put on is lipstick, right? Lip gloss. But you like the natural hair? I mean, it's cute for right now. When I wake up in the morning, it's not cute. See, the silk press, I could put up in the pins, put the bonnet on, wake up, take the pins out, and it's flowy. This ain't going to be flowy tomorrow morning. And I really don't have a monologue for you guys while we wait for the judge to come on. Um, and it's always, a waiting for him. So here's the solution that I'm going to come up with, because going forward, I like doing lives in the afternoon, Dana with the data in the afternoon. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try to push. Right now, it's 3 days out the week. So I am going to go live tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday, definitely Friday night with the panel. I may try to stretch it 4 days in the afternoon. And instead of the man up being live, I probably just upload, pre-record with the judge and upload, because honestly, that's a lot easier for me to pre-record with him instead of going live, because it takes him a while to get on, yada yada yada, and I like to get right to it. I really do. And I didn't think it's going to take him this damn long, and it's annoying. And if I call him, it's going to not come off. So I don't want to call him. I can't call him. Let me see something here. So, hi, Cap. Sisters should be proud to embrace their natural hair. You got chicks in Japan trying to style their hair like black women. Well, how are they trying to style their hair like black women? Like, are they trying to get an afro or something? Because their hair already straight. And even if I get a silk press, it's still natural. It's still my hair. I don't have extensions or nothing like that. It's just straight. This is just curly, right? But when it dries, it's going to be kinky. It's going to be real kinky. Can you text instead of call? Yes, I could text him. It just not gonna. He's logging in on his phone. He's logging in on his phone. So, if I text, then as he's logging in, he's going to stop logging in just to reply back. So it's kind of like the same thing. Well, if I call, it's going to just not come off as he's trying to come in. So here's the thing. He has horrible Wi-Fi in his house. Okay, I see him. And so it takes him longer to log on because of the Wi-Fi. So if I knock him off, he's starting over from the beginning. If I text, it's not knocking him off, but it's like, okay, he has to go out just to reply back. Okay, so I see the judge backstage. I'm going to bring him out once he gets settled, because he's walking around the house right now, and I don't want, people don't need to see what his house looks like, because, stalkers. Hi, Julius. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. I was just waiting for you to get situated.
We've got a little thunderstorm going here, which doesn't help things out.
Oh, turn it to. Oh, there you go. You look good. How was your vacation?
Who, me?
Yes. How was your vacation?
Wasn't much of a vacation, but it was an off period. Anyway,
How are you?
I'm here. You hear about the ceasefire?
That's what I was going to start with. So let me share this.
Okay.
So Trump says, congratulations to everyone. it has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now. When Israel and Iran have worn down and completed their in progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war would be considered ended. Officially, Iran would start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel would start to ceasefire, and upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war would be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful on the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will. I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, and having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. God bless Iran. And God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. That's a hot mess.
Takes a little prompting. Um, the best way to really express what happened is in a crude, vulgar fashion, but I won't. Let's try to be polite about it and say when somebody has less than backbone and spine personally, they always perceive that solutions must embrace their worldview. That's not how the world works. So when somebody comes along that has a more accurate, relevant, or related view to how things actually work, that person tends to get attacked an awful lot. So that's what we had here. There were some practical necessities about dropping the MOP, massive ordnance penetrator, a huge piece of ordnance. It drops from high altitude at very, very high speed, and it penetrates great distances into the earth. The last one we had was called a T-12, and that's been 70 years ago, never been used, and it was bigger. It was 20 tons. This one was 14, which is huge.
Well,
it's carried by the B-2.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what had to be put in place. The thing of it is intelligence seems to be indicating that Iran was excavating its 3 nuclear facilities to dig them deeper. And shortly, the MOP, massive ordnance penetrator, I think it was a GB-57, wouldn't have been able to penetrate far enough down to do any good. So it was now or never. And it'd been prepped for a while. So they said, do it. They did it.
Who was they? Who was the they?
United States government.
Are you talking about when Trump bombed them?
Yeah, they dropped 14 of these MOPs, massive ordnance penetrators. They go straight down. They hit the ground at Mach 2. They weigh 14 tons, and they're armored steel, and they penetrate a great depth, mostly almost the length of a football field. And they've got a very interesting amount of high explosives. It causes seismic waves in the earth, so that kind of destroys stuff. So they wanted to contain it, and also apparently their intelligence indicated that the Iranians were moving most of the fissile material out, and there was very little to go radioactive at the time. So boom, good time to hit. They hit. Somebody said, we don't want any part of this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and then it was followed up by some strikes from some Virginia-class attack submarines. There was a decoy situation going off in the Pacific from one end, and another one went across the Atlantic on the other that was air. So they put some of the B-2 fleet in work, and they've got a B-21 being produced now to replace it, so they can afford to risk something that cost about $1.75 billion per airplane, and they've got 19 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
it worked. Nobody liked it. Nobody else in the world has what it takes to carry one of these things. So they dropped a few, 6 or 14, depending upon who you're listening to. Interesting. Classic Rooseveltian Teddy of teddy bear fame. Speak softly and carry a big stick, but in this case,
can you
somebody's
hear me? Can you
bit
hear
more.
me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to say is Iran responded by launching missiles in U.S. military base in um, Qatar, Kuwait, I think Doha.
Had military installations. Nobody got hurt. It was a show, a saving a face episode.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So this is someone here. Yeah, it's Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Iraq. So somebody, I guess, in one of those places, I think this is Kuwait because it looks very fancy. They're filming it while they're listening to music in the background on a yacht.
Yeah, CNN stuff. That's how CNN saved itself from bankruptcy in 1990.
No, but that's so it's like so the missiles that they launched, I guess our defenses blocked it and they said only one went through, but it didn't do any damage or whatever. But I'm like, okay, these people are on a yacht. It looks very fancy and upscale, and they're filming the missiles up in the air.
That's what they did back in 1990 with Gulf War One. The CNN reporters were placed in downtown Baghdad, and you could see a U.S. cruise missile fly down the street at the 7th floor level, make a sharp right bank at the end of the corner, and then flash when it hit the target.
But see, if that happened in American soil here, like that display, I would be so scared.
Why?
Because I don't.
More
First of
likely
all,
statistically to happen here than it is over there. For the last 4 years, you've had these jackasses in the Biden Harris administration who've let the sleeper cells go across. Iran was issuing a threat saying we'll activate our sleeper cells. You are about to find out something you don't want to find out. So we've let 30 to 50 million people come over in 4 years. They're here. They're in place. The explosives have already been laid. They don't have to have suicide bombers. All they have to do is hit the switch. So that's what you need to be aware of. But they didn't have to limit themselves to small delivery systems. They've had 4 years to carefully craft, plant, devise some massive and very heavy explosives.
all right. So I
Probably
want.
the
Wait.
easiest is ammonium nitrate, America's most popular fertilizer, which the military uses for long pulse explosives, which Timothy McVeigh took down the courthouse in Oklahoma City with. You don't even need a permit to buy that stuff. Let's go to your lawn and garden store. You can buy
Can you
all.
not? Can you not describe how someone to do it? We've been over
It's
this
easy
before.
enough.
I
Everybody
know,
knows
but
fertilizer.
do not say that
I
over
get it, but
there.
it's out there. It's been out there since the
Okay, that's fine. They
1960s.
could go
They had
research
what
it
they call the
themselves.
anarchist cookbook.
But
So all it is,
okay, so I need to swing it back. I want to swing
yeah,
it back
well, yeah.
to
Anyway,
let
ammonium
me
nitrate is
let
fertilizer.
me stop. Let me swing it back to the ceasefire because there are a lot of people now, well, Democrats, that are saying that when Trump ordered the strikes on Iran, that it was unconstitutional.
That's bull. There have only been 5 times in the history of the United States that Congress has declared war, and we've been in shoot 'em ups a hell of a lot more than that. Okay, let's see. Let's start off. We went to Gulf War One with no declaration of war. That was George Herbert Walker Bush. We went with his son George Walker Bush. We started off attacking Afghanistan in 2001. No declaration of war. Then we got into dealing with Iraq with no declaration of war initially. We got into Vietnam with no declaration of war. We got into Korea with no declaration of war. The second Article 2 of the Constitution says that the president can defend the United States. He's the commander in chief, but that doesn't always embrace war. Like, for example, when General Sherman got an order from President Grant to protect the Chisholm Trail or something going along because there was going to be a gold shipment going along there and the bandits or the Indians were going to try to intercept it. He didn't need a declaration of war from Congress in order to bring in the military. When you have a hot and hostile situation, you do not need a war. For example, piracy is defined in Article 1, Section 8, and there is a continuous condition of piracy, and it becomes an obligation of the U.S. Department of Defense or War Department or the Department of the Navy specifically to everywhere in the world to address and suppress piracy. This whole thing about war on terror that Bush did, well, by treaty, hijacking airplanes is known as piracy. And what happened on 9/11 was several aircraft got hijacked. That's piracy. There's an automatic condition of hostilities that the president of the United States did not need a declaration of war to wage. So he simply went and carried out what Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution said he ought to do in terms of suppressing and eradicating piracy wherever found in the world. So in this case, if you had anything hijacked, anything like that, you had piracy. But in this case, it's a matter of defense. If somebody sits there and is ready to go nuclear, and you've got the incoming missiles and you can see it in NORAD and they're incoming, you don't have to wait for Congress to assemble 2 days later to declare war before you can shoot back. You see, that's the whole thing. There's a difference between declaring war and fighting. It's not necessarily the same thing. War is a condition, not necessarily this action. So it's been clear for 235 years that the president has authority to engage in war-like activity. That is not saying that it is a declaration of war which kicks into place certain international and traditional laws, precedents, and conditions. So anybody says that is a damn full ignoramus. And I'm not surprised that clowns are running around talking about it because it's been resolved over the last 75 years at great length during the course of the Cold War.
So let me play this clip here.
These are the countries that Obama bombed in his final year of office. Syria, 12,192 times. Iraq, 12,095 times. Libya, 496 times. Yemen, 35 times. Somalia, 14 times. And Pakistan, 3 times. 26,172 bombs for a total of 3 bombs every hour of every day in only 1 year.
Okay, example. This is what presidents do.
No, well, the reason why I played that is because he didn't ask Congress for permission.
You don't have to.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You need Congress to declare war, but warfare is not necessarily absolutely limited to war.
Right, but they're coming after Trump, right?
They can't come after him. That's just some ignoramuses talking flim flam that are trying to promote their sorry lost cause. And the main thing is the stuff hasn't stopped because outside of the formal institutions, which are opposed by internal opposition in Iran, by the way, you have this thing where you have these sleeper cells that have already been put in place. And these people may independently say, oh, to hell with all of that. We're doing our own thing. We're in place. We're going to do it.
So I want to play this clip here. I want to play this clip. Oh, wait 1 second. I got to unmute it.
AOC is calling for Trump to be impeached. That's really highly unlikely, isn't it, Colson?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, again, with her. So stupid, so ridiculous. All this is just, trying to say something to get on TV or have a soundbite that gets carried in media. The Democrats didn't say anything when Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Libya. When Barack Obama launched airstrikes against Syria, they did nothing. They were quiet. They cheered him on, so on and so forth. The president of the United States does have constitutional authority for strikes when it comes to military force. That's why they're the commander in chief. And so a lot of colleagues on Capitol Hill, they're talking about the War Powers Act, but the War Powers Act is something that's been litigated in court time and time again, and it does not obstruct a president of the United States from using military assets when they are in the key national interest. And I will add, one of the things that is crystal clear is that the Iranians were trying to actually create nuclear weapons. There's a reason why they have a ballistic missiles weapon systems. There's a reason why they were trying to create ICBMs. And that was simply not to just have things they can light off as fireworks in the sky above the skies of Tehran. They wanted it to be able to flex their power in that region and around the globe. And since they are a terror factory, that is a fact, we simply could not let that happen.
The real danger with Iran is they do have high tech in one place that's crucial. They're supplying most of the small and medium drone technology and equipment to Russia in its dealings with Ukraine. So they do have that. They're not exactly completely backwards. Anytime you have the infrastructure to be able to enrich uranium, either plutonium, 235, 238 to make triggers for hydrogen bombs, you've got some technology going on. So they have that. Mm-hmm. And it's not without its consequences. And as is the case here, everything is not homogenous in Iran. There are dissidents, there are various factions, and the problem we have is that there's nobody that looks like they can control all of these factions. And the only thing, well, not the only thing, but one of the worst things is for some religious crank to come up with a fatwa to say, hey, we got to go for it, and that'll launch the mess. So that's something out of everybody's control. In fact, this Ayatollah that you have right now, this Khomeini here, not the Ayatollah that started it back in 1980, but this Khomeini actually issued a fatwa that declared the manufacturing of the bomb was not going to be. So it actually didn't hurt the cause, but you see there was this separation between the religious traditional interest and those who had another agenda. The other thing too is there's something else going on here. You see the Strait of Hormuz, and it's just a kink in a waterway that gets into the Persian Gulf. And what happens is 20% of the world's oil and gas moves through there. So the Chinese have these huge, several 100,000-ton tanker craft that are getting turned around because they're hacking the navigational systems. So what that does is that puts China in a position where it can force negotiations, I think, with Iran to force in a pipeline so they don't have to ship stuff. They can simply pipe it overland. I think James Bond had one of those as an episode in one of their franchise movies. So that's in place right there. So there are a lot of people that are taking advantage of this. There's an interesting thing going on with the stock exchanges. The current price of crude oil has dropped a couple of dollars a barrel, but it's gone up a couple of dollars. I think the level is $77 for futures. It'll come in about 18 to 28 months. So that's interesting.
So it says, I'm back on Truth Social, and Donald Trump, B-2 bombers safely touched down at Whitman AFB in Missouri after 36-hour Iran strike. So
yeah, in other words, you don't need an overseas base. You can strike your target from Montana.
Right. And it was a clip that I wanted to play with JD Vance talking about that those specific bombers.
Yeah, they're interesting.
I think it was
Martin.
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program. And let me just say, Kristen, that we're incredibly grateful and proud of the American Air Force pilots who did an incredible job last night. The operation was really extraordinary. These guys flew from Missouri. They didn't land a single time. They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine, and then got back home safely without ever landing in the Middle East or ever stopping other than to briefly refuel. And of course, they did that in the air. So it's really an incredible operation, a testament to the power of American military. And I think what shows what can happen when you have that great American military in the hands of capable presidential leadership. What we did is we destroyed the Iranian nuclear program. I think we set that program back substantially, and we did it without endangering the lives of the American pilots. That's an incredible thing, and I think we all should be proud. Whatever our politics, we should be proud of what these guys accomplished. A very, very high impact mission under a lot of pressure.
That's impressive. They made a bad mistake with the plane's design. It's only got a 2-man crew. And what happens is these 2 crew have to stay wide awake and alert for effectively 36 hours, which they can't. So their solution is to go buy some fold-out lawn chairs at Walmart and put them in the back, and they go take turns going to sleep on the long 36-hour round trip. They need a 4-man crew like they have on board the B-1. But the B-1s had a problem with heat soaking, so they don't have proper sealing for the fuel tanks and the oil tanks. So when you park a B-1, it continuously leaks what fuel is left on board or oil supplies. So it's a big mess that's under each wing. And those are a little bit older, and each aircraft is 30-some years old. So they are wearing out. They've been saving them, but now that they've got the B-21s online, they can afford to use them. They don't know what they're going to do with the big UFs, which stands BUF, big ugly fucker, meaning the B-52 crew.
You really call it that?
Yeah, that's what it stands for, both, big ugly fucker. So it got made, and the last one was made in 1962. So literally the youngest B-52 in the inventory is 63 years old. And
Gary says the B-1 main problem was ejection.
Well, that's getting out of it. It was designed as a supersonic bomber, and then they changed it to be a low-level penetrator instead of a high-level Mach 2 penetrator. And then they did a few things on it to make it more stealthy. It works, but the problem is they're wearing out. They went into service before 1980. Mm-hmm. So the same thing with the B-1, B-2. Carter announced that he was going to put the B-2 into operation back in the 1970s. So we have had 21 B-2 bombers made at 1.75 billion dollars an airplane. We lost 2 of them, so we have 19 left. So they're limited for super special missions because we usually can get air superiority. We have these B-52s. And as I was getting ready to say, we have the ridiculous situation where we actually have current pilots and a given serial number B-52 who had their great grandfathers as the original pilot of the very same airplane.
All right, I want to play this clip real quick.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
Seconds ago, the president went to Truth Social and typed this. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Complete and total ceasefire is what he typed.
Yep.
What does that mean? How did it come about? What's the development here?
Well, we were actually working on that just as I left the White House to come over here. So that's good news that the president was able to get that across the finish line. I think what it means, Brett, is quite simple. First of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we weren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now, Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because we destroyed it. So that's a very, very big thing. Now, what that means, I think, is we have to talk to Iran and, of course, to Israel about what the future holds. Because while we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, our hope and our expectation is that they're not going to try to rebuild that program. And I think that's what the president is really trying to figure out here, is to build a long-term settlement here to where we can have peace in the region. region where our regional allies and, of course, the American people, most importantly, can be secured, but where we can ensure that the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
So here's the thing, right? Because Trump announced the ceasefire, but then Iran, we're saying we didn't agree to anything. It was an Iranian official claiming that Tehran never received a ceasefire proposal from the United States and saw no reason to end the war with Israel and the United States. The official claimed that Tehran would continue the war and that remarks from Israeli and U.S. leaders would be viewed as a deception to justify continued attacks on Iran. At this very moment, the enemy is committing aggression against Iran, and Iran is on the verge of intensifying its retaliatory strikes with no ear to listen to the lies of its enemies. So,
as I said, internal opposition, politics. Trump, by the way, vetoed Israel's urging to take out the Iranian leadership. Apparently, Trump has learned that very vital lesson that America seems to have forgotten. When you destabilize an area, you create chaos. All through the last several hundred years of European history and world history, there's been learning and relearning that mistake. You do not destabilize an area. And quite often you see strange looking stuff where one group comes in, beats the crap out of another, and then props up its old regime so it does not get destabilized. Well, destabilization is a bad thing.
Right. Well, major U.S. cities on alert after U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, right? So New York, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C., they're on heightened alert. An announcement on the night of June 21st, President Donald Trump confirmed the U.S. military carried out the bombing mission targeting 3 facilities, when you talked about the B-2s and stuff like that. We're tracking a situation unfolding in Iran. The New York City Police Department stated in an expo post, out of an abundance of caution, we're deploying additional resources to religious, cultural, and diplomatic sites across New York City and coordinating with our federal partners. We're continuing to monitor for any potential impact on New York. So these are the major cities. Now listen, sleeper cells. Iran said, "Oh, we're sleeper cells in your country."
Yeah, Biden and Harris let them in.
Yeah. So
that's what I've been saying for the last year. These stupid idiots open up the borders with this kind of atmosphere going on.
So this ceasefire, where are we going? Because
look, what you've done is you've got a nice political coup that's been pulled off, which is very effective. You've got the formal Iranian government snatched out of the picture. You've got an international restudy of the 11th month of the year, 11th day, 11th hour. The year is 1918, where there was a negotiated armistice between Germany and the rest of the world to stop World War I, but the United States was interesting. Rather than stopping it, several American generals planned outright offensives for that morning, for the couple hours before the armistice, so that they could show how badass they were. And one particular American general lost quite a few hundred dead American troops because he wanted to capture a bathhouse in the town. And it was only an hour before the armistice or the truce was supposed to hit, but he went ahead and launched this huge division-wide attack. So the rest of the world thinks of that, and it also thinks of the 1870s and 1880s when there was no quarter given in the Indian fighting that was going on the American frontier. The United States fights war in a ruthless fashion. We're the ones that gave rise to the term unconditional surrender. That was President Grant. His name was Simpson Ulysses Grant. They wrote it down wrong as U.S. Grant, Ulysses Simpson, and then in the Civil War here in Tennessee, he gave a certain Confederate fortress the offer of an unconditional surrender. In other words, surrender no conditions. So he became known as Unconditional Surrender Grant, U.S. Grant.
So
And
here's a
the
question.
rest of the world is scared of that.
I want to ask you this because, sleeper cells, and it could have been here before Biden went into office, but definitely under his administration. So do you think that we will have, God forbid, have another
Yes.
9/11?
Yes.
Another
Definitely.
9/11?
They're already here.
No. But do you think that we would
Yes. All you need is a couple of crazies. And all they need to do is get their word out through their grapevine or however in the devil they want it, and they're in place. They've got this explosives here. That's why I talked about, I know I'm not telling anybody of anything that you can't look up on Google. But the problem is,
just don't say it?
This needs to be said.
No. Don't.
Look, I'll say it in code this way. The
No,
problem is that one of the worst explosives you can buy in the United States is most effective for destroying stuff. All you got to do is go to your lawn and garden store and buy it.
That's fine. And that's it. Do not go on further details about that. The point that the question that I'm asking, and I want us to stay on topic here, is with sleeper cells, because we all believe they're sleeper cells. Now, of course, this administration never confirmed if we do, but why would they? But if cities are on high alert, that is an indicator that we have sleeper cells. But you're saying that you believe that we may have another 9/11, and I want to bring
we're not.
Let me finish.
Maybe we will, but they don't have to hijack airplanes.
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
I want to bring George Bush into it because when George Bush was elected president, within 6 months, that same year, that January he was inaugurated, and 9/11 happened in September, right? And so now that we kind of know the truth of 9/11, is it the same pattern with Trump? Is that the same pattern?
No, it's not.
What's the difference?
George W. Bush was trying to get his family firm, Halliburton, the oil exploitation rights in Iraq. The whole thing started before 9/11 when Hussein and the Russians and the French drew up a contract granting the French and the Russians the right to exploit Iraqi oil. Halliburton had been in on it. One of Obama's uncles, Uncle Herbie, also Uncle Herbie to President George Herbert Walker Bush and President George Walker Bush started Halliburton. They wanted the contract. That's why he exercised his initiative to come up with that false weapons of mass destruction. Now, there's one other thing that really scares me about this. What are these people complaining about in California with this ICE crackdown? They're losing workers, right?
Why are you going? We're not there.
Well, no, I mean, this is the point. They're losing workers because of ICE crackdown. So, in other words, these people that are sneaking across the border, invading the country, are working in what, agricultural fields? Yes?
I don't know. What is your point?
Yeah, agricultural workers. And this same agricultural field possesses and regularly uses one of the most effective explosives in the known world. So what the devil are you looking at? You bring people across the border who get in this particular occupation dealing with agriculture where you need fertilizer. The main fertilizer also is a main explosive. And you turn them loose out there with nobody looking at them. And what the hell do you think's going to happen if one of them decides he's going to play crackpot? That's what he works around every day. You grow oranges, you grow fruits, vegetables, you need fertilizer. And that's where they've let these people get into, where they don't even have to smuggle the doggone goods over. They're here already. That's a great, stupid thing that Biden Harris have to claim credit for. And every one of these clowns is violating Title 8, Section 1324, setting up sanctuary cities, needs to spend a lot of federal penitentiary time off in jail for doing what they did. It's absolutely criminal.
Are you done?
Well, yeah. So why do you have to hijack an airplane now? You don't need it. You got the U.S. government to give you transportation, or a city or a state government to your sanctuary city, where you're being put up by some idiots who are spending good money that could be spent on the country. Mm-hmm. And they're sending it back home. And nobody has to go play suicide bomber anymore. Just flip the switch. It's already dealt with. And probably Black Lives Matter, since they advertise on their site that they will arrange transportation, communications, and facilitate setting up demonstrations and protests. I imagine in their grab for money through Act Blue, and also through LGBTQIA, which raises money along with them, they've been taking in a lot of money so they can go paint themselves gold and get little mansions on the West Coast. And meanwhile, they've been setting up transportation and diffuse activities for people who are protesting and demonstrating.
Well,
great.
So let me ask you this then, because they told the three major cities, New York, DC, and Los Angeles, on high alert when Trump issued the missile attack in Iran for at their nuclear plants. It's a coincidence that, these are blue cities, right? And so, and they're yelling it's unconstitutional or whatever. Should all Americans, is there some type of precaution that we need to take, even though there's a ceasefire, or should we just go back to our pampered poodle lives here in the United States?
Well, I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I used to frequently get out to the offices in the non-coms club here at Millington Naval Air Station, which is a huge facility. And this is a nuclear target. This is also a sabotage target. Right here in Memphis on Mud Island, they call it, where there was an amusement park in a housing development. They have the one center in the United States that balances every single propeller for a nuclear submarine. So if they take this place out, that's a prime target to deal with too. You've got all of these waterworks around here, and you've got an interesting curve in the Mississippi River. You've got two huge bridges going across the damn thing, and there aren't any for a long way in either direction. This is a prime target. And these idiots are trying to make it into a sanctuary city, and it's blue. So yeah, everybody can run into this kind of situation. It's a mess.
No, it is a mess, but so the reason why I asked, is it the same pattern with Trump? Because 9/11,
he's doing something about it.
It wasn't so not, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of 9/11, but 9/11 wasn't the truth of 9/11 wasn't what the president at that time said it was.
No.
It had nothing to do with Iraq or whatever.
That sleazy dog was trying to get his family business, Halliburton, the contract to exploit Iraqi oil. They did in 2007 after the dust hit the ground. And what happened is, the last I checked, which has been quite some time ago, this was like 2008, Halliburton was making $2.7 million net every 7 hours.
So, and that's
filthy rich. That was after all expenses. Every 7 hours of the year, they were getting that.
So with Trump, and that's why I say, is it the same pattern to where if something like that happens again here on the American soil, is it because of some sick, deep state rooted agenda that has?
No, it's not sick state rooted agenda. What happens is,
I'm saying
you've got 30 to 50, maybe 60 million people that have infiltrated. The German nation, when they fought World War I, was just that big. So you've let in effectively the entire Han nation get in here without vetting anybody. You don't know where they are. And you mean to tell me that out of anywhere from 30 to 60 million people, you don't have some crackpots, cranks, idiots, and psychopaths running around loose that have their own agendas?
Right. And okay, so that makes sense. Yes. Totally. And that's the difference. That's a complete difference between the two. Absolutely.
Somebody's saying, I'm tired of being a peon. I got an opportunity to sell what I know or the access I know for a fortune. I can become one of these rich El Patrons. I don't have to be a peasant anymore in life. Hell, he can go sell this stuff out and it's already in place. There's no telling what kind of crazy crank is out there wanting to use this. See, that's what we've left in place. It's too late. Now you got to go double up the police works and intelligence gathering networks. You've got a problem where we've tried to keep some kind of privacy going on in this country. The CIA and the NSA are not supposed to be operating internally in the United States. The FBI can't handle this stuff. So who the hell's out there? The Secret Service dealing with counterfeit? And we know how that works. We won't even bring that subject up.
Well, here's the thing though. So I want to swing back to the Middle East. So Israel, well, let me be more specific. Netanyahu, he's a piece of shit. He is Satan reincarnating in the flesh because he was one of the people who spoke in front of Congress after 9/11 saying that Iraq has nuclear weapons or whatever. And they did not. So he was one of the people, along with Bush and them, saying that they're the bad guys. We got to go and invade Iraq. And it seems like Netanyahu has been starting a lot of wars, and then they always expect for us, the U.S., to come in and help protect them and help clean up their shit. Let me finish. So with Iran and Israel, and I've heard a couple other people who are highly intelligent say this, that Israel can't defeat Iran, especially long term. They just don't have the capacity. So I'm glad we do have a ceasefire, because if Netanyahu, which he probably does want a long-term war with Iran, it would be us really going to war with Iran, not Israel, because they cannot defeat Iran. So I'm asking you, who will win if they were to actually have a long-term war, Israel or Iran?
There won't be a long-term war. Israel cannot sustain it. The problem is the Arabic contingent can lose over and over and over again. All they do is get martyrs. If Israel loses, it's all over for Israel. Israel has declared that they're going to use the Masada prototype from 1,500 years ago, which is they invested a Roman fortress. The Romans took it, and every single Jewish person either committed suicide or killed off a friend, so there were no Jewish prisoners to take. Netanyahu has indicated that Israel will do that. Now, you would think of Netanyahu as a Jewish fanatic, right?
No, he's a Zionist.
No, yeah, but what does that mean?
That means he is
super
not
religious.
No, Zionists are not religious. They're
no,
I don't think they're religious at all. They're not religious.
In fact, Netanyahu brags about being an atheist. So what is his game?
I don't think Zionist is so much religion. Zionist, I think, is more about theology.
It's a culture.
Yeah.
Now, you've got an atheist running a religious state who has indicated that if he has anything about it, everybody's going to commit mass suicide if it looks like they're going to lose. Now, do you think that problem over there in the Middle East is going away tomorrow just because we've got the ceasefire? No, it's unfinished business. Somebody's going to have to put peace to it. Now, Jimmy Carter, of all people, a lot of people, folk don't like him, but he's the one that got Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin together to come up with a treaty so that Egypt and Israel became allies. and both allies to us to try to keep some peace in the area. So you've got a big problem coming online. You've got OPEC. But guess what? The biggest oil producing country in OPEC is not Saudi Arabia. It is Nigeria. And Nigeria, in a few years, is going to be the fourth largest country in the whole world. China, India, Pakistan, the United States, Nigeria up there with that group. So what's that going to do with the whole shift, not from the Middle East, but down to West Africa, where you're going to start getting energy production? And I know they know how to do the bomb, because one of my college roommates was a nuclear physicist, and he was all caught up with energy over in Nigeria. Probably a very, very wealthy man by now if they haven't put him on a wall and shot him.
Well, here's another question regarding Israel and Iran, right? Let's go to the history of Jewish and Muslim people, because the history going back into time, those two groups of people actually, they lived amongst each other in harmony, and they always worked well with each other. It was other religions, the Catholics, the Christians, that were persecuting the hell out of Jewish people. Muslims, they were either conquering or taking over. But when it came to Muslims and Jews, they always got along up until a certain point. So just recap quickly.
Okay, what's going on is genetically a traditional Jew is the same as a traditional Arab. They're Semites. There's a cartoon going around where there's a guy in Arab headdress and a guy with a yarmulke on, and he's calling the guy anti-Semitic. And the Arab that he's calling anti-Semitic is saying, "What the hell is wrong with you? I'm a Semite. You're from damn Poland. What are you talking about?" So what goes on is you had a group of people that were known as, quote, the Marsh Arabs, that genetically seemed to have given rise to what modern people call Caucasians. And what wound up happening is, biblically, there were some Canaanites who had control of what was Jerusalem and Israel. So the Israelis, the Hebrew, the Jews, when they came up out of Egypt, what wound up happening when they got to the promised land, they took it from the Canaanites. So what happens is the Canaanites wound up seemingly becoming the Phoenicians that people hear about as a group of sea people. But anyway, that whole area is predicated upon might makes right, and who's going to take from who by force of arms. And it's gone on for 3.5 millennia at least. And it isn't stopping. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And you've got Islamic followers who are mad as hell because they were the only people that were giving the Jewish community any safe sanctuary all through the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, and beyond. And then they got turned on. It's like, hey, you betrayed us. And that is a problem. And you go someplace and you think it's live entertainment and you don't understand the language, and then somebody starts translating it to you. They're talking about this great opposition to the Crusades in 1216 AD or 1189 AD, where Saladin was still holding sway, and you're lionizing some Arabic Islamic hero from 1,000 years before. And we're running around listening to the latest hip hop on television or radio, and we don't even get it. So you got people that don't forget and people that never knew. And when you get somebody that's got a clue as to how things got the way they were, you're going to have a losing proposition. And then the thing that always say this is Americans are fundamentally barbarians, intelligent mechanics who are barbarians. They can fight like hell because they put up enough with being somebody's slave or servant or whatever the devil it was, from being Saxons who were taken over by whatever, by the Angles or by the Normans or whatever, and they like to fight. And then they tried to sissy them up and girl them out, and they didn't go for that stuff. So now they got a rebellion going on, and they don't know where the hell to go. So they made a nation based on technology, expansion, and interceding continuous warfare between the Native Americans and the European settlers, with a few African bringovers put into the mix on both sides.
Right.
It is hell. We're the ones that gave the world give no quarter, accept no quarter, ask for none, unconditional surrender, save the last bullet for yourself so you don't get tortured to death.
So let me ask you this, because I remember when you were telling, this was like a while ago. I don't know, it was me and you on the phone, or we were doing a show when you was talking about the history of Jews and Muslims living amongst each other. You mentioned that Jewish people, when they all lived together, Jews and Muslims, the Jews in that region, they were handling the banking and stuff like that, and the Muslims didn't have a problem with that. It was something.
Yeah, and the Christians said that was usury when you charged interest, so they stayed out of it. The Jewish community took over the banking industry. They've always had it, but they cooperated with the Arabs for a great extent. And you had Al-Andalus. You know what Al-Andalus is?
No, what is
Today, you know it is Spain and Portugal. You heard of Ferdinand and Isabella. They financed Christopher Columbus to go find the route. Well, Columbus was Italian, and Ferdinand was a converser. He was a Jew, and he converted to Catholicism. So he married Isabella. When they joined up, they took over Spain, expelled everybody else. By 1492, they were looking to expand, and all hell broke loose when that stuff came around and that crazy fiend Torquemada started running inquisitions to see if anybody was reverting from being a good Catholic to a Muslim or a Jew. And a lot of that torturing and burning at the stake came about, which is horrible, but that's what they got caught up into. And then the damn Pope came up there and started talking about it's not a sin to kill an infidel. And he was trying to get rid of the barbarians in Europe and put them over there in the Middle East. So we still have the hell that comes from that episode, which was very unholy.
All right, so let's just pause that right
So it's
there.
a mess.
Well, I want to pause that right there, because when we pre-record for the Injustice for All, we pre-record. I think I want you to go a little bit deeper then. But right now, just real quick, I need to do a little bit of housekeeping. It's under 700 likes. Matter of fact, under 1,000 likes, and it's 1,200 people watching. So I need everybody to hit the like button. Also, I set a goal. I put 10 $5 super chats. You could donate whatever you want. But if you have a question, if you have a comment, please send it via super chat, right? You can also cash at me, $ Dana, Dana with the data. But if you have a question for the judge or me, or even a comment, it doesn't matter. Send it via super chat. I'm not going to sit up here and I'm not reading the comments to highlight comments like that. I'm just looking for trolls or anybody that's out of pocket. Other than that, if you want to say something or ask him, send it via super chat, and I would like to reach the goal. So
let me point something out about
that. Let me finish. One second. So support the platform, because I always say, oh, you want to listen to the knowledge, well, support the knowledge and hit the like button and share. Go ahead, Judge.
Here's what it is. See that?
Oh shit. Somebody, wait a minute. Were you talking the whole time or no?
Well, I'm talking now. I wasn't on the whole time. I just started.
Okay, good.
What's the symbol for like on social media? It's a heart. Now, if somebody comes on and says, we have information that at 11:17 p.m. tomorrow, somebody's going to try to kill you on the corner of so-and-so and so-and-so when you go out for this particular meeting. Now, that's helpful information, right? Are you supposed to like the fact that somebody is supposed to be out there trying to kill you? No, the whole concept is screwed up. In other words, you're supposed to hit what the like symbol is, not because you like the shit. It's because it's helpful to you. It gives you information. Even if you don't like what you are listening to, you heard it so you can be prepared for it. Like if you go down that 2-mile stretch of highway, it's filled with potholes, you're likely to bust a tire if you're not very careful. Are you supposed to legitimately like that or find that helpful? So we have a symbol that is indicative of we like this mess.
Right. It's thumbs up or thumbs down, and then it's a heart.
Heart.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole thing is silly. I'm telling people, you're telling people about stuff they need to know, they profit by knowing, so they're not acting in this world in a blind fashion. They'll take this off so they can see, oh, wow, I didn't see that. Look at that. Wow. Hey, man, check that out. And look at that over there. I didn't realize. And we are still subject to this stuff where people like it. We give them information they didn't get. Now, how long have I been saying this is poisonous, letting these borders be wide open? But ain't anybody been telling you what the real deal is? People have just been upset for the petty reasons that somebody's getting something that ought to be reserved to America. Somebody's trying to cut in line. But it's not dawning on anybody that this stuff in the Middle East was foreseeable 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 40 years ago. And it is inevitable that when somebody comes up with a dog-ass silly policy like opening the borders, you're going to get all of these people that hate your guts in place to do you in. And now stuff's in place.
Yes.
So what are you going to do about it? Do you want to sit up there and start instituting censorship and making this place look more like Nazi Germany, like the Democratic Party has been trying to make it? Or do you want to sit there and deal with free press, but do you want to get rid of guns so you can be disarmed in the face of all of these fanatics who are over here creaming on themselves in anticipation of cutting your throat while you're sound asleep?
So speaking of,
it's crazy.
Speaking of ICE and illegals, Supreme Court temporarily allows deportation to third countries. The Supreme Court on June 23rd, today, temporarily lifted a lower court order blocking the Trump administration from deporting illegals to so-called third countries to which they have no connection. The unsigned order came in the case known as Department of Homeland Security versus DVD. 3 justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Alina Kagan, and of course, Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented.
Of course. They want to, everybody needs to love everybody, and that would be the solution, everything. Really?
Right. No, that's not reality. Okay. So
now, see, this is what our problem is. We got this namby-pamby-poo stuff in a nasty world. There is a huge supergiant red star near enough by to wipe every single thing, including the cockroaches, off the face of the earth if it goes the wrong way. It could have already happened. We wouldn't know it till it hit. There are asteroids up there that could hit. We could go the way of the dinosaurs. And a lot of people, well, it's time we're evil. Go someplace and jump off a cliff if you want to. I don't particularly get the idea of getting wiped out when there's a way to avoid it. There are dangerous things. There are tornadoes that are picking up. There are hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes are erupting. All kinds of things are going wrong. You're getting droughts. The food problem is getting critical. There are so many people who won't stop irresponsibly screwing on the planet. It's getting filled up. And we aren't doing anything about it. Then they got stupid ideas about what to do about ecology that won't even work when there are ideas to do, but they require a rethink and nobody wants to get outside the envelope. So we got a screwed up situation. We are about to bust the thinning bubble that has embraced some parts of the world, in which we happen to be in one of those parts for the last 75 going on 80 years, and that's it. So we need to prepare. This is not nice. It's not fair. And I'll ask you, what did you have for lunch today?
Oh, I had a smoothie, a healthy smoothie.
And what'd you have for dinner last night?
Um, I don't know. I don't remember.
Anything have anything to do with meat, poultry, fish, anything like that?
You know what? I don't eat past 6, so I think it was Chinese yesterday.
Well, was there any meat in it?
Yeah, I had the chicken.
Something died. You
Yeah,
think it was fair to whatever the devil it was died so you could have the taste?
but
No,
that's
it ain't fair.
no, that's the food chain.
Yeah, that's it. There is a food chain. Most of the time, we're at the top, but not all the time. I've been places where I've looked, oh, hell, I'm not at the top of this food chain, and it's right there. So I'm going, oh, yeah.
So I wanted to read some of what the Justice Sonia Sotomayor dissented. She says apparently the court finds the idea that thousands would suffer violence and far-flung locals more palatable than a remote possibility that a district court exceeded its remedial powers when it ordered the government to provide notice and process to which the plaintiffs are constitutionally and statutorily entitled. The dispute stems from guidance issued by the Department of Homeland Security, all appropriate actions to remove non-citizens who are still in the United States, even though an immigration judge issued an order for their deportation. So going back to when we were talking about sleeper cells, if you allow the Trump administration and Homeland Security to do their job to deport the illegals, wouldn't that definitely possibly decrease sleeper cells?
Maybe. You know, I watched 911 when it was going down live as much as you could. And there were these peculiar bumps, bumps. And you know what those were, those noises?
But
People jumping off of one of the towers because they couldn't stand the idea of burning to death, and they were hitting the ground so hard they were vaporizing. That was it. Now, when this person is talking out of context about somebody who isn't even supposed to be here in the first damn place to exercise the rights because they snuck in, and you start talking about that versus these people in America who lived there, worked there, were around and about there, and you could hear them vaporize as they hit the ground and exploded in a puff of bloody vapor. What do you think is most important under the circumstances?
What do you mean?
In other words, what are your priorities here?
For who?
In other words, American citizens jumping out of one of the towers and vaporizing when they hit the ground, accelerating at 32 feet per second from 1,000 feet up. No parachute. Or are you worried about somebody that's a criminal and busted out the border and is just being sent back wherever the hell he crashed out?
I see what you're saying. So are you going to put the American people first to prevent something catastrophic, right?
Yes.
Or multiple crimes
yes.
going on? Or are you going to worry about
yes. In order to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. And the other thing is when we fight wars, these are good American citizens, boys and girls in their late teens or early 20s, and they are getting slaughtered for the national cause.
Do I need to read the whole order here of the?
No, you don't. It's just you've got 3 dissents.
Yeah.
Who one of them doesn't even need to be on the court because she is so ignorant she didn't even know what the hell she is. I don't know what a woman is.
It's a head scratcher. That's what we call her. Head scratcher.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I have some breaking news.
And I have 2 people who should have been on the Supreme Court. Justice Bernice Donald out of the 6th Circuit and Justice Roger E. Clifton off of the 2nd Circuit, the same one head scratcher came from.
Well, breaking missiles launched from Iran towards Israel, IDF confirms. The IDF has confirmed that missiles were recently launched from Iran towards Israel territory. Defense systems are actively working to intercept the incoming threat. Residents must immediately enter protected areas when alerts sound and remain there until officially cleared. Do not exit shelters. unless instructed by home front command. So now, if this is within the 6 to 12 hours, I guess this is okay, right? Because
Yeah, just like I said, 11 a.m., the armistice, and idiot American generals are trying to plot how to take over a city so they can get a wash tub.
Because I was confused with when he announced the ceasefire, and he was like, in 6 hours and 12 hours, and then within 24 hours it's all going to be quiet. What? Shouldn't it be immediately? So they must have knew, okay, Iran's going to hit them again. This is crazy.
And the thing came up with some congressional hearings in the 1920s. It was a big scandal. General, how the hell do you explain that 894 American troops died in an hour and a half before the armistice to end the war was supposed to start? What is this about you wanted to capture a bathhouse? What is this about you wanted to get a brownie point by taking a city and you felt you were late to the party, so you had to rush things? What the hell are you doing? See, they're crazies. And they come on both sides and in all kinds of uniforms. And the point is sometimes once you start something, once the ball starts rolling down the hill, it's hard to stop it. You don't let it get going. Put the parking brake on.
So Trump
These
is saying,
idiots didn't put the parking brake on.
is okay. So 2 minutes ago on Truth Social, right? He's like, Israel and Iran came to me almost simultaneously and said peace. I knew the time was now. The world and the Middle East are all the real winners. Both nations will see tremendous love, peace, and prosperity in their futures. They have so much to gain, and yet so much to lose if they stray from the road of righteousness and truth. The future for Israel and Iran is unlimited and filled with great promise. God bless you both. You know what it sounds like here, though? It sounds like, because Trump was getting a lot of slack. He was getting a lot of slack because people were saying, oh, he's acting like Netanyahu's bitch, basically, right? But it seems like that Trump is trying to play the mediator, and he's not saying, oh, we're 1000% behind Israel no matter what, because I don't think that's the case.
No, that's not what he's doing. What happened in LA with the fires? Whole lot of people got caught up in the fires once they started. We get caught up in the fire if it starts. See, here's what the thing is. That parade everybody wanted to badmouth him about, it's been 35 years since we've had a parade like that. That takes intense organization. That takes a whole lot of planning to get it together. And that kind of thing is necessary for the military apparatus to see what is actually going on within itself. This thing they set up here that they did when they dropped those MOP bombs, massive ordnance penetrators, 14 tons worth, on these targets and hit them with precision, was also accompanied by 26 Tomahawk cruise missiles being launched from the Pacific by American naval forces that went from the east to the west. And the airstrikes were all the way from Montana, 30 some hours there and back, coming from the west. So you got simultaneously attacks, you got attacks simultaneous naval from the west and aeronautically from the east. So this is quite an accomplishment. The logistics of putting that whole thing together, the timing and everything else, the communications. Everybody says, oh, hell, there's nobody else in the world running this right now.
So you don't think he's being Netanyahu's bitch?
No, hell no. It's like, just like somebody says, excuse me, I live in this town and you clowns can go clown all the hell you want. But right here, we're not having this. There will be peace on this street.
Okay.
And I will bitch your ass out if you don't.
Right.
So that's the way this thing works. And it's not Trump is being anybody's bitch. He's just saying there are people who are unwise who, for various reasons, don't have the foresight, the knowledge, the information base, the acumen, the wisdom, and understanding, and they're too damn emotional and caught up in belief systems to see where this shit goes. So he says all of the right little cues to appeal to the right people, but this is hardcore business.
Yeah, makes sense.
This is like downstream in the market. You got to go deal with that if you want where you're primarily selling or manufacturing or moving people to work.
Right.
And that's what he's doing. This stuff can't go on. This has been going on since 1946.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to switch gears just a tiny bit, because I brought this to your attention and I found this to be very disrespectful. So JD Vance joking with podcaster about Frederick Douglass being gay. So I want to play this. All right. So I didn't find that funny.
It wasn't meant to be funny. It's sarcasm. So what was he's not insulting Frederick Douglass. He's just taking a preposterous attack from somebody that is obvious what he is, and he's fending it off. And the ludicrousness of the proposition being put to him is obvious. So what is anybody objecting to JD Vance?
I'm talking about that podcaster for even bringing that up. That was disrespectful.
The podcaster, but it's not Vance.
No, but it was disrespectful for the podcaster to even. But listen, okay, you gotta laugh. It's laughing like, dude, are you crazy? Are you serious? That kind of laugh, maybe, and maybe he thought it was a crazy type funny. But I'm offended the fact that it was even brought up as a joke.
Well, it was. It said free speech. That's America.
Of course, it has nothing to do with that. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have said it. It's free speech, but the fact is that it's free speech for me to say I am offended. That's
no problem.
Don't play with his name.
No problem. It's like collateral damage. You live in a society like this, there are collateral consequences to get the things you like. They go with things that nobody likes. And this clown is doing what he's doing. That's what they were doing with the whole thing with Juneteenth. They were setting it in June so they could collaborate with identifying and subsuming Juneteenth. And now when you look at the Juneteenth emblem, it is a rainbow fist. They've already subsumed and associated it with some of this rainbow holiday crap. So that's what they're doing. It's like, is Christmas really December 25th? It wasn't celebrated that way. Still isn't in a large part of Christianity. But the Catholic Church couldn't get the ordinary peasants to stop celebrating Al Samain, Odin's birthday. They couldn't get them to stop Osiris's birthday. They couldn't get them to stop Mithras's birthday. So they just transferred what was somewhere around leap year every year, and they moved it to December 25th. So after 1,000 years, people would start talking about they're celebrating Jesus' birthday rather than something else. That's the same thing they're doing. They took Juneteenth. They took an obscure, stupid, insulting event in Black history that is most unfortunate. Nothing to celebrate. They made it something to celebrate it. They put it where it was because it was in June, in the middle of a month that is a gay pride month, and they've already taken the fist and made it a rainbow fist. So they're already associating themselves closely with Black folk. That's what this is. They're trying to claim Frederick Douglass, and they claimed every other Black person they can come up with to try and say this person is gay. Now, if they want to be gay and get booty busted, that's their business. To get your freak on in your damn bedroom. You live in the United States, that's your privilege and prerogative. But that other stuff they're trying to do,
So here's the thing now, because that guy, I think his name Theon Von or whatever, right? You have the vice president coming on podcasts like that, but then people want to act like they're so scared to come here on this podcast with you and me. Like, if you could go on someone like his, then why are people so afraid to come here?
Because I'm me and you're you. And we aren't under anybody's control.
Yeah, and we don't do say silly shit like
No,
that.
and I don't do shit. And I don't give a goddamn about what Diddy is up to with that freak thing he's doing. Or West is dealing with his freak wife trying to replace what's her name, Kim, who got off into little old lady with a little bag of coke saving the house bit, and you know that kind of nonsense. That's their problem, not mine. I'm
Speaking
trying
of
to
Diddy,
save people, but I don't work on a pulpit wearing ecclesiastical robes trying to fleece them for money so I can get a bigger car. I have more character. You do too.
speaking of robes and preachers and Diddy, I want to play this clip of TD Jakes and Oprah denouncing that they ever went to a Diddy party.
What in the hell is TD Jakes going to a freak party for? Isn't he supposed to be a preacher?
Well, wait a minute, where
He
is
gonna
it?
pray over it. Oh Lord, let it go in easy. Let it grease itself down as it slides in. And let some of that baby oil slally its way on into all of the creases.
You know what?
Damn.
You don't need to take another vacation. You really don't.
Ooh,
You
what
don't.
is wrong with us?
All
You
right,
know,
so
I used to represent a lot of pimps and prostitutes. And I'd say, that is a pimp. Do you know what pimps do? I used to represent his dead behind. Do you know what they do? Well, yeah, man, that's cool. Man, you want to get in that?
So, okay, it says here TD Jakes dismisses rumor of a love affair with Diddy as Oprah denies attending infamous parties. So I want to play this clip.
I have never been near a puff party. Never been near. And anybody who knows me knows if there is a party, I'm the first one out.
Right.
I'm the first one out.
I stopped by Puffy's house for 30 minutes to say happy birthday to him during the day at 2 o'clock with staff people. And out of that came a love affair and all kinds of stuff that I have never seen.
You too?
Yes!
Yes, you too.
Yes! Now I'm almost 70 years old. What do I look like? And I am a grandfather. What do I look like at this late date? You know.
I have never.
I don't believe neither one of them. They're just trying to clear their name
I don't care.
to disassociate with Diddy or in doing something dirty. They don't want to even, they want to act like they were never in a facility of none of his gatherings and get-togethers. Everybody went to a Diddy party after a award show, whether it's the Oscars or the Grammys, you know. So
I've
maybe,
been to an Oscar affair or two, but I never went to one of those parties. I refused.
and TD Jake saying he never, that's a lie.
TD
Because
Jake's been busted too many times.
well, you know what? He went to, I think it was a Rock Nation luncheon. It was one of those industry parties, and I think Diddy was hosting it. Diddy was there because he took photos. It was several events that he took photos with Diddy. So just to say, I only went to his house for 30 minutes, his happy birthday, it was his staff, it was 2 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. We don't believe you. Why are you even saying that? Why you even got to come out and say that publicly?
You know what?
What?
There are certain things that don't go together. People that have been career politicians and wind up rich, they don't match because something crooked has been going on. People who are preachers and wind up rich, that doesn't match because you're supposed to be saving souls. People who have too many of the wrong kind of damn affairs, that doesn't match trying to save souls. It doesn't match that you sit there and you have lines of complete fools who are bragging to be able to donate $1,000 to your pimp game. See, that is not good. It is not good when you turn around and you push production after production trying to destroy your black race or anybody else's race and try to destroy masculinity and push a sing-song mess that is trying to ruin half of the human race. Oprah, whatever, Tyler Perry, whatever, all of that sick stuff that is going on, that needs to be stopped. It's mental crack that they're selling. It sells well, just like the drug sells.
So, real
and you
quick,
ought to be ashamed for perpetrating it.
well, real quick with the Diddy trial, because this is the last week. The prosecutors, they wrapped up today, and so starting tomorrow, apparently the defense is going to start their case, but they're going to be finished by Friday because they're not bringing on any witnesses. They're just going to talk to the evidence. So, is that normal?
That's no such thing. You got to put on anything, or you immediately go to argument. And what's going on is, I imagine they're going to put on some scientific or expert proof about what people have been listening to, so they'll have a context. I hope, at least with what's supposed to be a well-financed defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Peter, because he didn't go today, he said he's going to go Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But he said closing arguments will start Wednesday. The jury will have the case Friday, and before that, what did he say?
They have motions to deal with, and what it is the defense is probably may rest and not put any proof on at all. But I would, with the finances I think they had available to them, have brought in some expert witnesses, clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, to talk about the phenomenon that was heard, so the jury will get a context. But they don't have to. There's no burden. That's the Fifth Amendment. Wow, we whoopee.
Oh, shit.
What now?
Give me a second. I meant to send him the link to come on because it was something that I thought I did save, but yeah, they're not bringing witnesses. They're just arguing with the evidence. They're just going to submit evidence that they have.
And what they're probably doing is trying to work up what they want the judge to charge the jury. They're going to make some presentations on that, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
See,
So
they never get into this in the popular press, but on a case like this, the judge will be reading instructions to the jury for several hours. He's had to put them together. He pulls down the pattern jury instructions and crafts them, and he may modify them or not. And they'll be able to go over their submissions, requests, special requests for jury instructions. So they're going to have to do that.
So it says Sean Diddy Combs won't be testifying at his bombshell Manhattan trial. His lead attorney signaled Monday, revealing that the mogul's legal team isn't planning on calling a single witness in his defense. Defense lawyer Mark Agnelfilo told the judge that Combs' attorneys will instead present jurors at the federal sex trafficking trial with an array of evidence that prosecutors have already signed off on. The shocking decision is an about face from the Bad Boy Record founder purported plan as of last week to call at least 3 witnesses, 2 of Combs' enterprise employees and a psychological expert. Agnelfilo, that's his name, announcement also indicated that the rapper will not take the witness stand to testify in his own defense like he did in the 2001 shooting trial that saw him acquitted. The burden to prove Combs' guilt is fully on prosecutors and not on the hip-hop mogul, so the jury isn't allowed to hold it against him if he doesn't testify or call witnesses.
That's what the instruction's supposed to say.
Yeah. So it says Judge Subramanian is sure to instruct jurors to this rule before the panel starts deliberating, which could happen as soon as the end of the week.
Absolutely. They're going to be arguing about what the charges are.
Okay.
And
So
what's
is that
happening
a
is
good
the
move?
defense wants time to prepare to go back and redigest the evidence that was brought in through the states with experts.
Is that a good move?
Hmm?
Is that a good move to do that?
Is one of the strategies and tactics. I wasn't keeping up with the thing that thoroughly. I don't know what's already in the record. There may be evidence to the contrary, and it's kind of like a lot of what they have is circumstantial, and circumstantial evidence is interesting because the typical charge associated with it says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the facts of the case may be proved by direct evidence or circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is indirect evidence. For example, if you hear it thundering and lightning outside and you walk to the door and you see the ground's wet, that's circumstantial evidence that it was raining while you were inside the building, even if you didn't witness it. All right. Now, it must exclude every other reasonable possibility but the fact that it rained. But if you find out that there's evidence in the record that there was a movie production on the lot and they had a tank truck out there and hoses in the air so it would look like rain, that's an alternative to the claim that it rained while we were all in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find there's an alternative explanation to why they're on the ground and the thunder and lightning, meaning they had a sound effects out there and a water tank truck, then you would not be entitled to say circumstantial evidence proved that it was raining. Got it? This is the kind of thing they'll be arguing about.
Okay. One last thing. Get your pressure up just a little bit before we leave. Give me a sec.
Oh, which? The hyena.
So I heard she's supposed to be running for governor of California. However, that's not why I'm bringing her up, because you have the Jasmine Crockett's and a whole bunch of other Democrats and just regular people who are pro-Democrat or liberals who voted for Kamala was saying, well, if Kamala was president, we wouldn't have an Iran-Israel war.
Oh, God. That's why they say what they say. They're stupid.
So I wanted
AOC, by the way, is one. I had some comments when you brought her up, but what was said was quite telling. Stupidity and ignorance. And same thing with this.
Well, I want to play this clip here because, like I said, I do
Who is this?
This is Amanda Sip. And I like, so she's really addressing people who are saying, well, if Kamala was president, we wouldn't have no war with Iran or whatever. So I like what she's saying to rebut against that.
Okay, so these are the people I'm going to block. Anyone in here who's speaking definitively, like, we know Kamala wouldn't have bombed Iran. I don't even understand how you can make such a statement. I don't understand how y'all, what is it about this woman that she has shown you that makes you think that she is like some peaceful, like, namaste, like, auntie? What is it about her? She's taking photos with cops, calling herself a top cop. She's married to a Zionist. When she ran on her campaign, she said, I'm going to be just like Joe Biden. She literally in her DNC speech said that she will make sure America remains the most lethal military. She, in her interview on ABC, absolutely said Iran is our biggest enemy.
She had people
I don't know.
Kept on death row knowing they shouldn't be there so she could get political advantage. So that's the kind of character you have. Zero. Second thing, do you mean to tell me that somebody is suggesting that Iran and Iraq would have checked with her dumb ass before they got to shooting with each other?
What'd you say that again?
Does anybody in here go along with the stupid proposition that
No,
Iran
say
and
what you said.
Iraq would have
You
checked
said,
with
do
a
you think,
dumbass before they started shooting at each other?
you said, do you think Iran or Iraq would have checked with her dumb ass before?
Before they started shooting with each other. See, I used to whip this kind in trials when I was a trial lawyer all the time. They think they know every goddamn thing. They don't do the work. They're lazy as hell, and they shorten their hemlines when they want something to work for them rather than dealing with making the case.
Well, we're not going down that rabbit hole.
We won't. But anyway, this is absolutely absurd and stupid.
But the thing,
And,
so here's the thing, though. So this is why I kind of agree with. I mean,
look at her. She's a joke.
I know, but listen, let me say this. This is why I kind of agree with what Amanda Seals was saying, because people were like, "Oh, this wouldn't have happened if she was president." No, it would have, and it probably would, like you said, they wouldn't have checked with her. But what happened would have still happened under her watch.
This dumb witch would have probably have issued an executive order acting under Title II to expedite the declaration that these people were refugees and entitled to political asylum so they could vote next year.
Which people? Oh, the illegals.
Yeah, that's what she would have been doing with her dumb ass.
While Israel and Iran is bombing each other.
All of the above going on, and probably drunk on top of it.
That's not nice.
She's a drunk.
Allegedly.
She acts like it.
Allegedly.
Sits up there and she can't even keep track of what the hell's going on. That's why they call her Word Salad Annie. She can't even keep track of what the hell she's talking about.
I think she'd fit right in perfectly in the state of California because.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes. California's about at the bottom of where it's going to get to, and it needs some serious redemption to get its act together. It's going broke.
So one more thing, I wanted to play this.
And I wonder what Soros is going to do with her now that he's got a slave, but it's not a Negro slave. It's one of them houseboy types, you know.
Hindu.
Yes.
Thank you. Justin says educational commentary, blessings. Appreciate you. Yes.
And by the way, I have a comment. I was looking at the vice president's body language. He was acutely embarrassed by what was going on with that fool he was interviewing with.
I know. My issue wasn't with JD Vance. It was with the podcaster. So
yes.
But you know, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't funny. But I want to bring this up real quick. So Barack Obama made 3 cash payments to Iran. January 17, 2016, 400 million. January 22nd, 2016, 1.3 billion. February 5th, 2016, 10 million. Obama was paying his organization. Donald Trump, Barack Obama is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder. That's what Trump said. So I want to play this clip here.
Guess where I bet you that money went to?
Where?
That Obama paid out. It was to keep those F-14 Tomcats that the U.S. still should have on inventory that we gave Iran back in 1974. And they all running dry, but they keep getting paid because of black market parts. And that's where that money went to. That's just enough to maintain that fleet that they have.
Is responding for the very first time to questions about the controversial $400 million cash payment to Iran. It was one of the issues that came up at his news conference yesterday at the Pentagon. The president also discussed America's new airstrikes against ISIS in Libya. Major Garrett is at the White House with the president's pushback against Donald Trump and other critics. Major, good morning.
Good morning. President Obama called talk of ransom paid to Iran for U.S. hostages, a transfer that was carried out in big bundles of non-U.S. currency, the stuff of spy novels. The president said it was actually much more boring than that. Money that was owed to Iran in the first place and simply couldn't be transferred any other way. After reviewing military efforts against ISIS in Iraq and Syria, President Obama, for the first time, addressed questions about a $400 million payment to Iran at the time 4 detained Americans were released.
We announced these payments in January, many months ago. There wasn't a secret. This wasn't some nefarious deal. We do not pay ransom for hostages. We do not pay ransom. We didn't here, and we won't in the future.
As yet, the administration has refused to say if the plane ferrying the Americans from Iran to Switzerland departed before or after the currency arrived, deepening the sense Iran viewed it as ransom. The president suggested the nature of the payment, not the timing, made the story intriguing.
Maybe because it kind of feels like some spy novel or, some
feels like bullshit
novel, because cash was exchanged.
Negro, please.
The reason cash was exchanged is because we don't have a banking relationship with Iran.
In the fight against the
Then
Islamic
you don't
State,
have any other intermediary
Obama
bank
said
anywhere
the
else in the
tide
damn
is-
world to go deal with that.
Major successful offensive operation in either Syria or Iraq in a full year.
But the president took painful note of ISIS-inspired terror attacks in Europe and at home.
As we've seen, it is still very difficult to detect and prevent lone actors or small cells of terrorists who are determined to kill the innocent and are willing to die.
The president also touted coalition airstrikes that took off the battlefield 3 top ISIS commanders and intelligence gained from former ISIS strongholds in Iraq and Syria. Josh, it was by far the most optimistic assessment of the battle against the Islamic State, and one that obviously flies in the face of unrelenting criticism from GOP nominee Donald Trump.
Major Garrett, thank you.
That's an old teller podcast.
Is honoring President Obama. He is the founder of ISIS. He's the founder of ISIS, okay? He's the founder. He founded ISIS. And I would say the co-founder would be crooked Hillary Clinton.
This when he was first running for
Yeah, it's a while old, but that's about the essence of it. He got them enough to get them financed.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
I think they probably used it to maintain the F-14 Tomcat fit. And speaking of which, that's one of Obama's worst F-ups. This was probably, wasn't stealthy at all, but it was probably, once it got the full upgrades in electronics and weaponized, it wound up being probably, just for day-to-day purposes, probably the most effective fighter in the whole world. And just after they upgraded the entire fleet, Obama grounded the damn things because he wanted the money for his social programs. So the U.S. grounded its F-14 fleet, but Iran still has a large number of them left over from when the Shah was in place way back in the 1970s. So they still have their fleet, and every now and then they have to upgrade it and keep it maintained. So we gave away a lot of our stuff or grounded it. And that's thanks to Obama boy. And he also sat there and financed Iran's mischief. And you can't tell me there is no way that you could not make a money exchange other than by cash unless somebody's demanding it. And you should have said, hell no, we're not going for that.
Right. Well,
all the Swiss banking arrangements and stuff going on. What the hell is the matter with that fool thinking we buy into that garbage?
He think people are stupid.
Yeah, I know, and he's doing this. You notice his body language. Yes, this is what we were doing. We were messing you over, and he's nodding his head affirmatively. Like, dude, I can't see that.
Right. Well, good show. Thank you, Judge.
The hyena heifer sitting up there and is likely to straighten this up. Give us a break.
Thank you, Hella Mel. Oh, wait. Oh, I forgot.
And even if you don't like what the devil we've been saying, you ought to appreciate it, because I'm trying to keep you in a situation, people, where you don't get your ass fried, because the people that you were supporting put yourself in a position to get fried. Now, wake up.
Oh, I missed this one. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Judge O'Brown. For the judge, do you think that there will be a World War III? Good question.
I doubt seriously there'll be a World War III.
Well, you said that we're going to have another.
I know, but that's not World War III.
That's going to kick us into World War.
No, World War III, World War II, World War I was other different kinds of things. In other words, every place on the planet was being severely impacted by it. That's not going to be the case. It's kind of like World War I. They invented chemical warfare, poison gas and stuff. And all through the 20-some years between World War I and World War II, everybody worried about, just like they do nukes now, they worried about people are going to use poison gas. Oh, how horrible. Since that has come and gone, nobody used poison gas because it was so horrible. There's no need for it. See, the bottom line is if you're going to fight a war, it's to achieve a purpose, to secure an objective. And if you destroy your objective and your point was not to destroy the objective, what did you gain? See, there's no point in turning the planet into a radioactive wasteland. Nobody wins.
Right. And thank you, Dre Day. No questions. I appreciate you and Joshua Brown. I was from earlier. And of course, Justin B, educational commentary blessings. Thank you guys so much. Even if somebody sent me a cash app, I can't check and my phone went dead. So if you did, thank you. But thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. And make sure you share this video, like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button to get all notifications, and comment below in the comment sections.
Something's bothering me.
I'm trying to close. What is it?
This is on something we've talked about. 70 years ago, the United States came up with the T-12, which was a 20-ton, that's 40,000-pound penetrator bomb. This thing that they've got now, the MOP, which is the bomb they dropped on Iran. It's not the biggest we've made that's conventional. It's only 14 tons. That's 28,000 pounds. We have aircraft that can lift it in the inventory. At the time they made the T-12 and it weighed 20 tons, which is 40,000 pounds. The biggest thing we had in the inventory was a piston-driven B-36, and I'm not sure the damn thing could lift that weight. So what exactly did we build the B-12 to go, T-12 to go in? That's the biggest conventional bomb we've ever made. It was 20 tons, 40,000 pounds. This thing we just got through dropping was 28,000 or 14 tons. I know what it fits in, but what did the other one fit in?
I have no idea, and I really don't.
That's something that bothers me. What the devil did they design it for?
I don't know. Can we?
How were they going to deliver it? Just an interesting thing.
Okay.
In other words, I look at something in the museum and say, who did that and what was it for?
Say good night.
Good night.
Are we doing Justice Fall?
Yeah, I get, what is that? This week? Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Let me get out this outro.
Ciao.